very important forum and very important conversation. And I thank you all for coming. Before we begin, we would like to have a few words and remarks by the president of your host for today, which is Northeastern Illinois University. Madam President Sharon Hess.
I am not, but I love Northeastern anyway. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. All right. If you are a member of the Northeastern family, and now you are, it is my joy always to greet you, and you have to greet me back. So since you greeted me back, we are all members of the Northeastern family. Some of you are also alumni of Northeastern. Quick show of hands. That is great. I love it. Thank you so much. It is indeed my pleasure and my honor to welcome you to Northeastern Illinois University this morning and to our important gathering, Violence Prevention in the Latino Community, Reconnecting Youth. We applaud the work of the Latino Youth Action Coalition to bring together elected officials, community organizers, business leaders, and many, many others to not only create, I'm going to call it an impressive think tank, but also to follow that with action. I think action is important, affecting positive change for the young Latino population of our region. Indeed, the mission of Northeastern Illinois University is to prepare a diverse community of students for leadership and service in our region and in a dynamic, multicultural world. We are deeply proud of our diversity and of our diverse and harmonious family at NEIU. We are an assortment of national origins, citizenship status, religious beliefs, sexual identities, races, and ethnicities. Over 30% of Northeastern students are Latino. And Northeastern is connected to the Latino Youth Action Coalition because we share with you your goal of healthy youth, emotionally, physically, intellectually. Healthy youth whose success will direct them to greater education and a greater quality of life. So we thank you all for coming together today. We thank you for the good work of each of your organizations and the good work that you are together going to do. And we wish you a very, very productive day. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Thank you, Madam President. Let me walk you through the agenda a little bit. But before I do that, I'd like to acknowledge some folks who are here and who are very important to us because of the work they do. State Representative Lisa Hernandez. State Senator Iris Martinez. Denise Martinez from the Office of the Governor. We also have Javier Salas from the Office of the Governor. Dion Miller Perez from the Judicial Advisory Council for Cook County Board President. We also have the Secretary of the Department of Human Services. You were here. All right, there you are, Michelle Sattler. Thank you, Michelle, for coming. So, as you notice, what we have brought for this discussion is an array of folks that have a stake in this topic, and either make policy, help shape policy, help secure funding, and or are interested in the welfare of the children and youth that we serve, and because of that they're here. We also have brought some foundations, and the only one that I see so far is Adam from United Way, Adam Alonso. Anyone else here from the foundations that we invited? Lisk? Where's Lisk? Thank you. We also have Judith Gethner from the Illinois Partners for Human Services, a great advocate. So what we're going to do first is give you a framework, a little background on how we got started and what we ended up doing and why this was important to us. And then we'll have the discussion be joined by panelists who will give you some brief points on some key issues that we think are important for this discussion. And then we'll have a call to action. So before, or without rather further ado, My colleague, Mike Rodriguez, Executive Director at Enlace.
Well, I'm not as tall as Kenny. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's wonderful to be here. I'm really humbled to be amongst this wonderful group of thought leaders in our communities. And that's really what the Latino Youth Action Coalition is about. Bringing together individuals from community-based service providers, organizers, individuals from governments. But then we've also been very interested in bringing together thought leaders from the universities and researchers to help us think through and prioritize our next steps on working with Latino youth. To give you some background in our coalition, on Friday, December 14th, 55 thought leaders, many of you here in the room, representing similar constituencies as I previously laid out, came together to discuss the needs of Latino youth. And there was a very, very strong undercurrent at that meeting around youth violence in Latino communities. And this group, we had a very strong desire for both government and private program investors to be strongly tied in their efforts to research, evidence-based practices, focusing on evaluation. And I think this group, as previously mentioned, certainly represented the Chicago region. There was certain fact about Latino youth and Latino youth growth that we want to underscore here. In the state of Illinois, Latinos make up about 60% of the population. That's the last estimate. I'm assuming we're more towards 17 to 18% at this point. But of those under the age of 18, we make up 25% of the state, and 33% of those births in the state. More so in the Chicago region, we can make up 1 in 3 here in Chicago, but already in Chicago public schools, we make up a majority of the students in CPS. I repeat, a majority of the students in Chicago public schools. When we think about future policy and engagement of young people in our community, we need to be thinking about not just the broad community, but about Latino youth particularly. And by the way, I think coffee is just getting here, so if those who are interested, it's in the back. I've never had a cup of coffee in my life, but I'm told that it's like something you really need in the morning, so feel free. Used to have Coke every morning, but that didn't work out for my weight, so I stopped that. At any rate, the group conversation really focused in on this concept of disconnected youth. Disconnected youth are those 16 to 24 who are out of school and out of work. Those individuals have a high correlation of being both the victims or perpetrators of violence, highly involved with the criminal justice system, have less access to health care and housing, and this is amongst a myriad of other issues that these disconnected youth have displayed through research. And the map here shows where disconnection, at the very least in Chicago, is concentrated. And you don't have to be a genius to understand where disconnection amongst youth is concentrated in the south and west sides of the neighborhood. But particularly, this disconnection occurs heavily in Latino communities. As a matter of fact, this slide shows the percent of Latino youth per community area who experience disconnection. And you'll see communities like Brighton Park, Little Village, Humboldt Park have high areas of disconnection, as well as communities like Austin and Inglewood. But the next slide also speaks to the raw number of youth in each community that experience disconnection. And again, I'm the executive director of Enlace, which focused our work in Little Village. And Little Village certainly is known as one of the youth centers of the city of Chicago, and certainly has a very harsh reality when it comes to disconnection of our young people. So what do we do about this disconnection, and what are we doing about drawing attention to this disconnection? Out of the conversation back in December, we came out with some best practices that are very consistent with some of the leading research across the country. Dr. Robert Balfas at Johns Hopkins University talks about middle school as a key moment for identifying risk factors at an early age. Predicators for failing courses, poor attendance, and in-school behavioral incidences as a high correlator of future youth disconnection. Also, the University of Chicago Consortium on Chicago School Research finds very similar results. So what do we do and what are we doing around this issue? Certainly, our coalition has thought of 3 major factors to consult in thinking about youth disconnection and how we move forward. We believe that more research on disconnected youth is certainly needed, community-specific data, not just in Chicago, but in the region. The Chicago Justice Project, as a matter of fact, out of the University of Illinois at Chicago, who's been a part of this effort, has already started doing some research on this topic and is looking at conducting or releasing an abstract very soon on youth disconnection in our region. Secondly, our coalition wants to promote preventative versus punitive policies as a priority for legislative action. As a matter of fact, I was talking this morning with Representative Hernandez about the fact, and I'm very excited that Senator Martinez is here as well. They are really leading voices on proactive, educated kind of actions, and I'm very interested in hearing from you guys a little bit later about some of your thoughts on that. But lastly, what we're going to get a little bit more in today, and we'll have a panel very briefly on, is we believe that we need to advocate for funding for evidence-based practices that are data-informed and influenced, that are outcome-oriented and focused on positive youth developments. These are things like case management, counseling, and mentorship that have proven valuable. And these are the items that aren't just pie out of the sky. These are things that came out of our focus group. We try to be as evidence-based and outcome-oriented in our focus group as well, and we compile the data of the 55 leaders who were there. And these buckets, this case management, mentorship, and counseling for at-risk youth who are displaying these early indicators are certainly things that we're focusing in on. So I think I'm done with the kind of context to our conversation. I'd like to bring Kenny back up to lead us into our next panel discussion. Thank you very much.